Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Gaynor.
Okay, one thing we both love is our cars.
We do.
We're not petrol heads, but we love a nice car, don't we?
Nice car, yeah. A nice clean car.
Cars are always clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something we really do look after.
I think I'm the only mum that didn't have like a mum car with like Cheerios all over the floor. They weren't allowed to eat in the car.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. I mean, people always say, "I've got kids, I'm on the run, I'm doing that." I'm like, you can still get it cleaned. Once you drop kids off somewhere, you don't have the kids with you all day, every day. There's times when you get out and just take it to have it vacked out, cleaned, or vac out yourself, wash it yourself. I know a lot of people who, when I take my car in, they ask me for permission. They say, "Are we okay to wash your car?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Duh."
Yeah.
And just wash it, and it's gleaming when it goes in anyway.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't need scratched and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
but
they
you know
like
they're
to
going to
wash
look
their own
after
car.
it. It's going to be proper, But anyway, we do love our cars.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd have a look at Tim Allen's car collection. I know Tim Allen likes his cars.
Yeah.
I know a bit like Jay Leno as well. I know
Jay
he's into
Leno,
his
he's
car.
got
He's
a lot.
probably the most famous person for the big garages. But we'll start off with Tim Allen first and see how this goes. And let's have a look around Tim Allen's entire car collection. Celebrity Garage Tour Part 1. Let's see. What's your favourite car? If you could have any car in the world, what would you have?
I'd like a Mustang.
Mustang, yeah. I saw you talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
Like I saw you looking at them on the computer.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But I'd have a Rolls Royce.
I do actually like a big car though. So I've got a big car and I like it because I've put the grandchildren in there. I can put all my shopping in there. I feel safe.
Yeah. See, I like the little car.
Yeah.
Mine's only 2-seater
Yeah.
sort of thing, and it's so I don't have to take any passengers anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you're driving down the street and you see a couple and you don't have to pick them up, you can just bib at them and go, "Hi."
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah.
You know, if you otherwise say, "Why don't you stop and give me a ride?"
Yeah.
But I'd have a Rolls Royce, mate.
You would. That's too pretentious.
Yeah.
Oh, it's you. See ya. Just kidding. Never know who's going to show up in my neighborhood out here. Welcome.
The last time I
Peterson
seen him, he was
Museum.
dead young.
All right, come on in.
Some motors in here a bit. Go on.
You know what? I'm going to shut that door behind you just in case, because you never know in my neighborhood. So you get by me like this. You keep walking that way. Go take a look in there. We'll walk around a little bit, and then I'll shut the door.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a museum, isn't it?
With the big home improvement sign.
Yeah.
All right, people. What I generally like to do is start at the one end. So follow me. It was an old print shop building that I bought many years ago. Kind of a cute story only to me. Is they kept having me come at a certain time of day because I was going to use it for a sound stage. And they kept saying, "Why don't you come by about 11:40?" And then they'd quickly hustle me out of here at 11:48. And I bought it, and then of course when I came back to do it, I realized I'm right under the Burbank Airport entry runway. So it's flying for a long time. It's not a good place for a sound stage, although I have used it for several movies. And currently shooting a show called Some Assembly Required with Richard Karn in this space. So this starts, I generally don't give people tours, much like my pal Leno, who's down the block about a mile. The original home improvement sign from Disney, I thought they were kidding. They said anything.
I love seeing like things like this, me, where people have collectibles.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of memorabilia
Yeah.
which I collect over the years. Some of it's worth quite a lot, but some of it's worth nothing.
Yeah,
But the
just
stuff that's
personal.
worth nothing is probably worth more to me
Yeah.
than it is value.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I'm looking on the wall as well of what he's got.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of like glancing around a lot of American cars there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a couple of Porsche there I can see. Let's see what he's like. You've got to have that home improvement sign, hasn't he?
Yeah,
He
but it
was
looks
home
like he's been
improvement.
painted by a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want from the show when I canceled the show, or canceled, when I bowed out of the show, and I said, "Yeah, why don't you give me the sign?" And it showed up like a day later. Like Last Man Standing, where we're taping our final season this season, there'll be memorabilia in here about Last Man Standing. Starting with the automobiles. This is the driving section. My wife's pristine 1972 Bronco. Not much done to it, which means I don't really like driving it. Too short a wheelbase, too big of tires, but my wife adores this car. Literally, even the shop guys, none of us really like driving it. Anybody driven a Bronco like that? Short wheelbase, not my friendly thing. This was bought online. I wanted a Carmen Ghia. I love Carmen Ghias. This was a special version that was built up in Seattle. I made some modifications to it. It's basically a 71 Carmen Ghia mixed with a 55 Porsche. So there's elements of both interior. It's got Porsche elements to it. Drives, it's brilliant. I get in it with one of the guys in the shop. I don't feel right. I have no other way to describe it that way.
It's funny that you get in certain cars and you sort of like, when you sit in them, you don't feel right, do you?
Yeah.
You kind of like feel like it's not, you can move forward, backwards, you can't get comfy in a car. And these other cars, you jump in straight away and you think, this is me.
Yeah.
Straight off the bat.
Well, which car was it I got in? And I said, it had the like hugging seats and it just wasn't comfortable at all.
Can't remember.
It was recently. It was
one that you own or?
Pardon?
One you own or?
No.
Was it when you would...
No, it was recently that I sat in a car. And I can't remember whose it was. It'll come back to me, but I didn't feel comfortable in it.
Yeah.
Runs great. I feel like I need an ascot and big sunglasses. And when I bought it, I thought it was a hard top. The guy wanted to sell it really bad. I didn't really want the convertible. My wife adores this car, so that's hers.
Seems like his wife adores all the cars.
Oh God, get out of the way. The Volvo is another surprise I got from my wife. She loves eclectic cars like this. I've remodeled this thing several different times. Volvos, I lived back east, and they were like the most reliable car back in the winter in Michigan, even though
aren't they?
I don't know why. It does seem bulletproof. I think it was, in its day, I thought it was kind of ugly. Now I think it's kind of charming looking.
Yeah, it's got a charm.
Yeah.
It's just really slow.
And heavy.
Yeah.
And I don't think it handles really well. The dashboard's kind of funky looking to me. But it's a premier piece, and right now they're of some value. Last time I was at Barrett Jackson goofing around. This is the third Ford F-150-ish truck that I bought at
Barrett Jackson, is that the auction house down in...
I don't know.
Not sure where is that, Lancashire or something like that?
I've no idea.
I'm not sure where. I think Barrett Jackson's the auction place.
Right.
I think I've seen like some of the car shows I watch take cars down at Barrett Jackson for the auctions. No. Like a show, it's like show cars that
like
get
an elite
put on.
one.
Yeah.
Barrett Jackson out of I don't know why, because I don't like to buy at auctions. I think the price gets inflated because it's too exciting.
Yeah, people.
This is 100 years of celebrating Ford Motor Company's F-100. They built this with McLaren.
It was sitting in the
nice,
lot, and I said, damn, that's nice. The wheels, it's dated for its time. I think it's probably 20 years ago, so whatever the 100-year anniversary is. It's built to beat the band. It's really a track car. It's almost like a stock car chassis.
Yeah, it's nice, that.
I think why it sold for nothing was, and I've changed a few things, make it driver. I really do like driving it. I think most people chop these. I've got one that's chopped. I got one that has a blown Hemi in it, and here's my train. And so this thing has its drives great. It gets a lot of views. It's a little dated. I've decided I'm not going to do anything to it. Generally, that would not be my way. This is a really interesting piece, my LT5 Impala from the 90s, I believe.
Yeah.
Gosh, maybe 2000s, 90.
Oh, 96.
Don't like
I had two of these when I worked on home improvement, so because I wanted to look like a FBI or the president. So we had two mimicked. Nothing mimicked like this. This was a Chevy project with myself. I put the aluminum 427 ZR1 motor, I believe it was, from Mercury Marine out of Oklahoma. It's got pieces of Cadillac interior in it. It's got Jaguar shelves in the back, so it's like a limousine type thing. At Pomona, if I've got my memory, and my memory is colorful, I think I did a 12.9 1/4 mile when I first got out of this. This thing scoots. It has absolute great traction. It's a frighteningly fast sedan. And I remember the cameraman was going, do you know what you're doing in this? And I said, not at all. I mean, a little one hand, but this thing sets up, it connects. It's a fast
It looks a beast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks like it can
after
move.
they made it, said, we'll never do this again. The idea was, and I've done probably 5 prototypes like this for Chevy. This is before Chevy had any performance cars, certainly like this. I think this sedan still, to me, is a really handsome sedan. A lot of R&D went into this, and I transferred that to Cadillac, and I've done probably 5 prototypes for Cadillac. They're on posters around here. where I wanted to have
Was
an
R&D.
AMG version of Cadillac.
Research and development.
Went to them, we built it with Jeff Beitzel out of Michigan, and he passed away, and it was a great time in my life because I get to go with GM and they do it every year. They worked with us. New management came and that memory went away and it turned into the CTS versions. And we had a lot to do with this group, had a lot to do with that being part of Cadillac's history. My collection of American, I call them truck cars. I don't know what it was like where they said, somebody goes, hey Tony, what if we put the truck motor in it? And the Galaxy with the 427, I mean, as you see, the interior is overdone, 60s. I love this big motor, stick rear axle, shift. They drive.
Not for me.
Let's be honest. I got a Demon. I drive a Demon with the chip in it that's near 890 horse, maybe 900. Nothing. These are like trucks. They barely get out of their way. They feel like they're going fast. They're not. They got no brakes, no steering. Unlike Jay, who'll drive anything, I get in these and I'm going, something's wrong with it. The guy, yeah, it's a 1964 is what it is. The 409 Chevy Bubble Top, great motor. Even today, it's a great motor.
The color.
Bench seat, as you can see, bench seat, stick shift on the floor. I love how simple it was. They just said to put the big motor in it. My sense is the 409 was a weak motor on the lower end because a lot of these blew up early. I still think it's, when you get it on the throttle, it's a great, great sound, and it's a wonderful piece of what it.
I'm one of them where I think if you got like, the classics like these, 60s, sort of like 50s, 60s cars, I think you need bench seating.
Yeah.
I think it's got to have bench seating to give it that authentic sort of like
look.
look, yeah. Especially these type cars
Like you're going to the drive-in movie.
Yeah, and I think it's just like that everything about that's mint, isn't it?
It's a nice colour.
The colour, it's sharp. It's just sharp. All these
I'm
cars
not
are
a
just...
big fan of like the vintage cars like that, but that one's quite cute.
Yeah, it's I like the vintage cars like that. It's I mean, looking at the Porsche next to it as well, I guess he's going to get onto these, but we'll wait till they get onto them.
Paul, let's put the truck motor in there with a 4-barrel. I don't know how they got to these performance cars. I just love that the men and women that did that. Many years ago on a movie, I think it was the first Le Mans movie or maybe Grand Prix, the guy that portrayed Ferrari drove up to the race in this particular 330 GTC, and
It's a Ferrari.
I've always loved this car. I've always loved the look of it. Correspondingly, I love the Alfa Romeo GTV that looks kind of like this. I love that compact look. Once this gets, in parentheses, Porsches and Ferraris, in my opinion, have to be driven hard a lot to behave. If you let these things sit, I don't drive this that much. I've just redone it again. Carburetor tubes,
That's nice, that.
coolant.
Yeah, that's cute.
I was looking at the headlights, thought it was a Porsche.
I get lazy. I end up driving the Demon or my hopped up Tesla, which is just a Apple phone golf cart. It's got its own personality. It's just kind of boring, but it does what it does extremely well. We'll get back to that. This Ferrari, though, when it sings, it's hard to believe it's a 1966. You get in it, there's the way it feels, the way it
Older
drives,
than I
the
am.
motor. Well, there's nothing like a 12-cylinder engine, except I think we're at the end of it, aren't we? It's kind of sad for hot rodders. Electric, going that way. I'm making an electric hot rod. Don't kill me. I'll show that to everybody later.
Wow.
It's been a big project, and it's a beautiful Vicky. It's got, I put
He's
it
a
on
Pontiac.
YouTube if you want to see it. The GTO was, I used to race these on Woodward with a friend of mine's dad who owned a Pontiac, an asphalt company in around Detroit.
Yeah, I
and
like
we
them a lot.
pave dealerships.
It's a boy
and his
racing
kid
car.
used to get these at home. I knew what they were. The kid didn't. And he goes, "Will I get a ticket if we get pulled over?" No, if I'm driving, I get the ticket. He goes, "You drive." And we had a 455 GOAT, as we called them, convertible.
Oh, look at that.
That did a
Lines.
30 roll, 28 mile roll. There wasn't much that could beat it. It didn't have positive traction. Cut two, this came up for collection. This is a Ram Air 4, very rare. Was a drag car. I toned it down a little bit, put the old honeycomb wheels back on it. This to me is one of the best driving, because they have variable ratio power steering, so it hooks up It sets up. I still think it's a gorgeous automobile. It's got some wings to it. It hauls. But nothing like that. I think the damn Tesla I have, that Model 3 with some modifications, is one of the faster cars in here. And it's literally, no offense, Mr. Musk, it's a golf cart. You know, it's got no moving parts in it. It's kind of spooky. Speaking of spooky, Joe Pesci, who every time I pulled up, I know Joe, and I pulled up, he goes, "That's about the only car of yours I like." I said, "Joe, you belong in this." 40 Ford, done up. I've been through 3 different variations of this car. I love the shape of this car.
Yeah.
It's that huge back seat. Vintage, custom. It was done in the 60s, and it's a tuck and roll maroon or burgundy, whatever color it is, vinyl. And I've left it. It was customized once in the 60s, and then I remotored it. Finally took the old
I like the split screen
Ford,
well.
components underneath and put modern components, and it's a gorgeous driving car. It looks old, it ain't old. It moves, but it's not a mover. It's a real cruiser. You know, it's all about looking cool when
Sunday
you drive
afternoon
something like
drives.
this. I'm a truck guy. When I was a
this is
kid,
me.
I drove. My favorite book was the Magical World of Trucks or something. I found it in a used bookstore, and this was not a barn find, but I looked on. I was looking for the first sleeper cabs. This was, as far as I can tell, only five of these are left, of the original sleeper cab, Studebaker. The guy that built this was I think in his late 80s when I found him in
gorgeous, isn't it?
eastern Pennsylvania. You know, I called up and he took pictures of it. And this is a guy that's probably been in 2 world wars, and I'm telling him I need proof of purchase and all this kind of thing. Why? Well, I want to know that you are who you say you are before I send the check. He goes, "Well, who else would I be?" I had no answer for that. I said, "Well, I need some kind of reference." For what? Again, to prove that you are who you say you are. Why would I be somebody else? And he said, "Maybe you could talk to my brother." "Well, your brother can't be a reference." He goes, "You don't know my goddamn brother." This guy redid this whole thing. It's an ash frame inside of it. Again, I hate to give Leno credit, but I had to call him because I didn't know how to drive it. It's non-synchro mesh up or down. So you got to find gears up, you got to find gears down.
Wow.
It's literally an upper body workout with this thing. It is so difficult to drive, but for its era, I used to have my little one, and we'd have breakfast in here. I just love sitting in there in this little stupid thing in the back.
Nice.
It's sleeper cabs, but for the time, I think it was right. Horses, then they had those things that look like horse carriages, but with motors, and you're still out in the open. This was the first closed cab, and I met the men most likely that drove this were going, "No."
That's my favourite so far.
Yeah.
I said,
Wouldn't know how to drive that.
No.
and of course, you'll get these shots of, I've got a Spitfire chasing a Messerschmitt for no apparent reason. I've got airplanes flying everywhere because I love airplanes. And these are another collection. I found a guy that passed away, had these great models of airplanes all through here.
No.
I was into rally cars for quite a while. And Peugeot, Renault had all these rally cars in this era. And I will relent to somebody given the details of that era, 88, I believe. And this is an RS200 Ford. And it's a very different car. I think it's as modern now as it ever was. It's an RS200, RS3. It's an RS200. You know. So this is an RS200 rally car, bought out of England. Ford pulled out of the racing. Tragically, the first time this raced in a race, if my memory serves again, it ran off the road to somewhere in Germany, and 20 people went in air.
Wow.
I think 4 or 5 people passed away, and they yanked that racing service. So there was 250 of these they had to make in order to race them, sat in this warehouse in England, and they would not sell them. And then I paid a huge amount of money at the time for that. I brought it back here, and I drove this several times to set, doing home improvement.
Yeah.
And the Burbank cops, which arguably know me, it's not like I sped, but I was always driving something peculiar. And he said, "You know, Mr. Allen, that's not a DOT certified vehicle." And I said, "No, it's not." He goes, "I know. I could take that from you. You're not. That's when they're DOT certified. You're not allowed to drive them." I go, "Oh no, it's got bumpers and all that." "No, it's not about bumpers. It's not allowed on the road. And if I were being mean, I could take the vehicle and you'd never see it again." I go, Well, I don't want, my voice always raises when I'm nervous. I don't want that to happen. And he goes, it won't happen, but we're going to have to tell you don't drive that. So I've had this at the racetrack at Willow, and I think Emerson Fittipaldi either said to me or through a resource, he had raced them, I think, and he said, everything you know about racing cars, which I did race, luckily for Ford, for Trans Am for about 4 or 5 years, you don't know in this car. It's full-time four-wheel drive, not fooling around. It's much happier on and off the track. With one wheel off, it hooks up like you can't. It's hard to describe, except I go back to that idiotic Model 3 Tesla, which is all-wheel drive.
Guess it's someone like Fittipaldi's telling you how to drive it and what to do on it. It's serious equipment, isn't it? Serious gear. Yeah, I remember him. I kind of vaguely remember him from the rally car sort of driving that sort of like that look. Yeah. But I don't think I've ever seen one.
No.
I think that's.
I guess that's why.
Yeah.
As I said, an '86 RS200. That's this car. Moving currently, I asked one of my fellow car guys
Mustang,
if he could get rid of every car in his collection, what would he do? And he said, I would keep a GT350R in my pocket. You need a handgun or something? What is she looking for, a knife? Oh, there we go. Okay. I asked a guy, a current guy, what car, if he could take all his collection away, and I didn't even know he had one of these. He said, well, I'd get a GT350R. I found one used. I intermittently wanted to sell it because there's a certain amount of my collection that I'd roll over to, as I just like driving them for a while, and then once I get back in it, there's nothing quite like this automobile. I'm not a big fan of sometimes Ford interiors, this included in that group. As soon as you drive it, it requires your attention.
And a badass flat plane crank engine.
American version of a Ferrari engine, the sound is like no other sound. You get into 5,500 RPM and you got another like 3,000 RPM to go. There's no end to the sensation of this motor. This is it's an amazing car. For that reason only, I've kept it and I keep it up and I drive this quite a bit. And it's badass looking to me.
It is.
Yes. Press pause a minute.
Another one of these?
I just remembered what the car was that I didn't like. It was the BMW X5 we'd in the States.
I was going to say, was it the X5 before?
I was trying to think. It's a car recently, and I remember sitting in the seat, and it felt uncomfortable. It was like pushing into me, flab.
Yeah, I'm not.
You said it's because it's like a bucket seat, so that's out the window.
I'm not really into the SUV. Like yours is very nice. I mean, I like yours a lot, sort of thing. But the run-of-the-mill SUVs, the X5s and things like that, I'm just kind of like. I don't get excited about them. Yeah. It's cars like this. The GT350 referred to it. Just look at it.
Yeah.
It's got the look. When they're low down like that, and the styling and the curvature and the lines in the car, you just look at it, and then when you start it up and you get that growl, that V8 sort of like, or 12-cylinder, what he was talking about before, that growl. Yeah. You're just thinking that's what I want to drive. Yeah. But that looks really nice.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's like a challenge, and woe is me, the poor guy with all the cars. It was hard to get a Ford GT. This was the big deal, and so I just like a.
There's one of them round here.
Yeah, there is.
I've seen it, and it's coloured up in like all the. I think it's got a number on the side. I'm not sure what number. I'm like I say, we're not massive petrol heads to know everything about. So like many cars, this is all starting to learn a little bit more about them as we go along. But there's a Ford GT that comes out in the summer around here. I've seen it. And I think I want to say the number on the side is something like 06 or something like that he's got. And it's in the Ford colours with the stripes. Is it white and blue stripes or red and blue stripes on the white car, whatever it is. It's like a cream colour. And it's absolutely beautiful. When I see it, I'm like, wow. And that's a bloody expensive car.
Yeah, he obviously has it in his garage for, months.
I think he only brings out like one day, probably 1-2 days. I've only ever seen it once or twice.
You want to keep the mileage down as well.
Yeah, but it's people have to let us know they go for that. I'm pretty sure they're over here. They're probably over 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Challenge. And I said, oh yeah, well let me try. I used to race for Ford. It was like getting into Stanford, and I would never have gotten to Stanford because I've never gotten an A in any kind of class. And so I said, I went through the whole period. I couldn't believe the amount of paperwork to get on the list for having them to okay you to buy a car that they wouldn't even tell you how much it costs. Flash forward, I'm mixed about it. In its element, I've never driven a more fantastic automobile.
That's the new one, isn't it?
There's no room in there. you two men, you're in each other's laps. There's no cell phone slot. There's no coffee. You can't go anywhere. The doors open up. It attracts too much attention. I can't give it to a valet. I took my little one down to one of the farmer's market. We both looked at each other and went, where are we going to put anything? Well, I guess we have to eat all this stuff. It is the most startling looking automobile from any angle I've ever seen.
Isn't it?
Ford drilled it. There's another company called Ferrari that's done this for a while, so they added another era to that where they're comfortable inside and there's good leather, and they've been doing this. Ford's new at this. This is a race car for the street. It's like having that horse Secretariat running around in a little kennel. There's only certain things you can do with this thing. I mean, I've shown my little one and my wife on little spurts on Mulholland, clear day, nobody in the way, what this thing can do.
The guns in the back.
Naturally, I've never seen another car do it. It sticks to the road. I had a Carrera GT, a Porsche. Did not like that car. I think the wheelbase is too short. I think that's a dangerous car. And God bless it, Paul Walker passed away because of that. I think that car gets out of handle. I'm not very uncomfortable with how that car handled. And I sold that to buy this. This does not have that feeling of letting go. Another one of my...
Pretty sure they made some kind of rule. Someone will have to let us know in the comments about when you were down to, you were invited to buy one of these, or you had to put your name down on a list, of like I don't know if it's a ballot or they chose whoever it was, but you had to sign a certain waiver. I'm pretty sure these cars
to sell it on.
weren't allowed to sell it on for a certain amount of time. I know a few cars do that. I know Aston Martin
or you
do
could
it.
sell it back to them.
Yeah, I know Aston Martin do it as well. Where these certain cars you have to get an invite to buy the car. And then, and it's only a certain few people who get the invite to buy it, and they're not allowed to flip it within a certain amount of time. I think I want to say it's 3 years, but someone will have to let us know on that.
Yeah.
Purchases, again, I'm new at this. This was not new.
That's what I said before.
Many years ago. This is the original Cobra, but it's got an asterisk on it. I don't like the word but. Has an asterisk. It was originally baby blue or bird's egg blue with white wall tires and wire wheels.
Nice.
This is why they kept shooing me away from this building. We should go have lunch right before the planes start. So I found this Cobra. It is the real Cobra. It has an asterisk because there's a company, a drag company in England that says they have the correct body. This body did not come on that chassis. The Cobra organization said, they gave me the paperwork that said this is all the numbers match, and they said many times these aluminum bodies were repaired anyway. That said, it's almost like my buddy Bruce Canepa, who modifies classic cars to make them even better. If you upgraded something even from those days, this is upgraded in 88 or something, 89, which is everything I would have done. The right wheels, natural flares, all aluminum, put Webers on the engine. They took the white interior out, put black in, a roll bar. It's a fabulous motor car. I don't like the 427s. I love, this is exactly the car I would have made if I hot rodded one.
Black on black.
That's why I have it. It isn't, it isn't the baby blue 289 kind of soft pedaled Cobra that it was in its era. But every time I drive it, my wife doesn't like me on sport bikes. I love sport bikes. She goes, you could get killed on that. If you don't think this is dangerous, this is like made of paper thin aluminum, and you're pretty much half in, half out all the time. If you got T-boned in this, you're done.
Yeah.
That roll bar is just going to keep me in the seat so the coroner will have someplace to put me in a box. Driving this car, and people look at it, so they're coming right at you. I don't know. This is actually a luxury that I love. I think it's safer on a sport bike.
That was good. That having a look around some of these cars there. That's only part one. I know he's got other ones as well. But I got mixed up with the Porsche and the Ferrari. That Ferrari was just like that was really good. I was looking at the headlights and I thought he's got the Porsche look, but when I would miss the bloody horse on the front. I'll never know. But that out of all them, which one's your favourite?
I like that truck type one.
Yeah, the truck was really nice, wasn't it? Yeah, that was.
I've never seen anything like it.
I was watching one of the one in England the other day, and they had an old ambulance that was up for auction, and I thought, I might get that. And it was like going, so I was like, I didn't need any repair; it was already done. And I thought, what could I use it as though? What I'd have to get use out of it, sort of thing. I thought, I've got somewhere to put it. I could put it in the warehouse, sort of like, and store it there. Yeah. But it'd be in the way a little bit, but I could find somewhere to put it. And then I thought, what would I use it for?
Yeah.
And I couldn't find a way that I think I'd use that.
No, you wouldn't.
You know, when I was like,
It'd just
you know,
be stuck there wasting.
You just drive it to shows and things like that, or schools, and maybe do something at school where you could showcase it at
So
school.
inside it, was it still all like an ambulance?
It'd all been refurbed as an ambulance, but it was like really old.
So really, what you could do is take it
like
to the
50s,
match, and then
yeah.
when anyone gets drunk, you can just take them home.
I was, do you know what the funny thing is? I thought I could use this for away games. I could kit it out inside like with seats in it, and we could use it for travel to away games, get someone to drive it. And then I thought it was like from the 50s or the 60s, and I thought it's not gonna have that same kind of like it'd be dead
Comfort.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I thought, nah, forget it, leave it, sort of thing. But the Ford GT's nice, isn't it?
It is.
It's a beautiful car. It
Yeah.
really is. But like you say, it's. I mean, I know with my car, I've got no space. I can't get golf clubs in mine or anything like that.
No.
I remember when you said to me once we had a box in, you said, "Can you bring that box on when it won't fit in the car?"
No.
And it's a lot of the cars like you don't get any. People say to me when you get in mine, it's dead basic, and I'm like, it's not for it's not a luxury car.
Yeah, it's not
for comfort. It's for
Yeah.
racing,
Yeah.
sort of thing. But yeah, some nice cars in there. I really enjoyed that. It was a good little tour by Tim on
it
that as
was,
well, wasn't
yeah,
it? Not
yeah.
seen him for a while. Here you go. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Something different. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Cheers.